Hello, my dear friends. Okay, we're here at the last video. This is part 2 of the empath video. I just wanted to separate it so it wasn't too overwhelming because there is a lot of information about the empath psychic trait. So if you haven't already, go check out all of the other videos in the series. And I won't repeat all that because, like I said, this is the second part. So I'll just leave you to go and do that. And we'll get right into the empath. So there's what I have created is a list of 8 different types of empath, and it's a great place to start if you're trying to understand what type of empath you are. And also it's a good list for you if you want to practice expanding on your empathic ability already. So the first one we're going to talk about is a nature empath. And these are all written out on my website, on the blog section of the website. So a nature empath is someone who can speak to nature. If you know some good gardeners out there that just can grow plants, no problem. My dad being one of them and my stepmom being another. They have an amazing garden. It's like they can speak to the plants. They have a really good rapport and understanding and just instinctive knowledge of how to deal with plants. It's like a communication between you and a plant. So it can be trees, flowers, grass, anything related to nature. It's you get the feedback. You feel happiness from a plant. You can talk to a plant, make it grow better. So all of that is when we talk about being an empath, most of the time it's about an empath with other people. But in this case, it's an empath with with nature. So mountains, water, that kind of thing. Having that communion with nature, understanding it. You could feel when a tree is in distress. You could feel when a plant is in distress. You know that a flower is going to grow much bigger, or you can encourage it to grow bigger. Things like that. That would be a nature empath. And I can tell you right now, that is definitely not my strong suit as an empath. I tend to kill a lot of plants. So the next one we'll go over is an animal empath. This is someone who is able to communicate and understand animals. And it may be restricted to certain types of animals, but that's only probably because they've focused on that. So some of the shows on TV, like My Psycho Cat, or you know, these people that come in and help cat owners that have cats or dogs, that kind of thing. I think a lot of times we do focus on cats and dogs just simply because those are our pets and a lot of us have them. But it can be horses. A lot of people love horses, can communicate with them, understand them. They have that communication with each other. And it can be other animals as well. So it's a deep understanding, appreciation for animals, and having that communication. I know I used to have a cat named Zulu, and he and I would have a little conversation every time that I came home, and he'd kind of meow and tell me about his day, and I'd tell him about my day, and then he would go out and that would be it. So it's understanding animals, and I think if you are an animal empath, you will find yourself always having to have animals around because you just won't be able to live without them. So that's the second type of empath. The next one is a spirit empath or a medium. So being able to communicate with spirits is an empathic skill. So it's also tied to another type of empath, which I'll get into, that telepathic empath, just being able to hear the thoughts. So it's similar to that, but it's the ability to communicate with those spirits. So feeling their emotions, being able to get the signs from them, hearing them, all of that is an empathic trait, and that can be developed, you know, over time by focusing on all of the psychic abilities together. So that's the third type. The next type, which I already kind of mentioned, the mental empath. So mental and spirit, for me, those two types of empaths really go together. because I think once you can start picking up mentally on the cues of other people, you will naturally be able to pick up mentally on the cues of spirits. So from day-to-day life, you've probably heard about telepaths, telepathic ability. There's movies on it, things like that. And really it can go hand in hand with really understanding how to read a person. And that's an empathic skill. It just happens over time. The more you get to understand a person, and especially when you first meet them, so your first impression, you will start picking up on little thoughts that they might have, or inclinations they may have. So all that is part of being a mental empath. It's gathering that information, and the more you respect it, I think the more you are able to understand. I think if you tried to abuse those type of empathic gifts, then obviously I don't think they would continue. So it's a line that you have to respect. Quite often I have that turned off. I don't think of it. I don't want to know what people are thinking. I definitely don't want to know what they think of me. I just want to live directly without having that influence. But again, you can turn it on and off. So that's a practice as well. And I think a lot of people who are mental empaths have a hard time turning it off. So that's something to practice. And again, for me, on a day-to-day basis, shutting off or just ignoring the mental information that I receive is easier than shutting off the spirit side. But again, that's just me. So that's the sort of the third and fourth empathic gift there. The next one is an emotional empath. And I would say this pretty much goes without saying, that most empaths have that emotional understanding of other people. And as it grows, it's going to continue to grow into an animal empath and nature empath and other things around you. I feel like the empathic skill, the more you accept it, the more you cultivate it, the more it just naturally comes to you. You don't even have to try. It's just something that grows and grows and grows. You'll just start to have an emotional understanding of many different things in life, not just one particular area. But if you are interested in a particular area, such as with spirits or with animals, then you can direct that emotional understanding and start building that by, checking and watching and opening yourself up to other empathic areas. The next one is called technopath. I think of it as a mechanical empath, and I think it's a little bit more rare, but then again, maybe for men it isn't rare at all. It's an understanding of technology and machines. So having that, it's almost like a rapport of a machine. And I found it very curious that I actually have experienced this before. I had no idea. But it would start, I had my first real car that I just really loved that car so much. It was an older car and it had issues. And when I would get into the car, it was almost like I was one with the car. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's something that just happened. I would know if anything's wrong with the car. I knew, what it needed, how fast it needed to go. So I think as a woman, it was weird because I'm not into cars or machines or anything like that. The other thing that gave me a tip off that I have sort of some inclination for this mechanical technopath empath is when something does go wrong with the car, I'll get an idea of what's wrong with it. And I will have no idea. I'll be like, oh, well, it's, this thing over here and it's this carburetor or something. I don't know anything about it, but I'll get a clear message about what's wrong with the car. And that's happened to me a couple times and it's been true, and it wasn't even in my car. So again, like I said, it's just that rapport that you have with the machine. It's understanding when it's going right or when it's going wrong. And I think that could happen with computers as well. So people who are really in tune with computers or things like that may experience this type of empathic connection. The next one is the weather or earth empath. So I know a lady who, whenever there is an earthquake in the world, she gets a very specific thing happen to her body. So it's not just a regular headache or something that's happening. She gets full body reactions, and you can look it up online and check where it has happened in the world, and there would have been like a significant earthquake. So people who feel the earth, who feel changes, there's varying degrees. So for example, when the weather changes, I know because I get a headache, and I think that's a really common one. People are like, oh, well, it's going to get colder or it's going to get warmer, and I know because I have a migraine today and it's driving me crazy. That's another type of empath, is just sort of understanding and being connected to the weather, to the earth, that kind of thing. So it can be as simple as just getting a headache when the weather changes, or it could be more significant to where you will start feeling like if a major earth event is going to happen, you may start feeling anxious. You may not understand why, especially if everything is going okay in your life, and then only to find out that this major event happened. So that is the other type of empath. And the last one I'm going to go over is the physical empath. So this is more of a healing empath. It's being able to know what's going on with another person. And once I had my Reiki training, I was able to pick up almost instantly on the health of another person. I could look at their body, and all of a sudden I would know exactly what's going on. And sometimes I feel it physically. So when I'm on my way to, say, a meeting or something, if I'm probing to find out what this person is about and what I can explain to them for their health, that kind of thing, then I will have physical pain. I'll get a pain here, and like, oh, okay, there's something going on with the shoulder, or I might feel like something in my heart. Okay, I know that there's some anxiety or there's some heart issues going on, or I might get a pain in my head. So all of these things happen, or often I'll get them sort of in my stomach, my kidneys, things like that. I'll get it physically in my body, what's going on with another person. And sometimes you'll be able to, if you have this empathic ability, you'll be able to see visually, sort of in your mind's eye, but while you're looking at a person, what's going on the outside. And like I said, I didn't necessarily have this ability until I started Reiki training. And then it maybe just kicked in that knowledge or that understanding, that empathic gift, to where now it's the second nature. So that's sort of the physical, is just understanding what's going on with another person. Now, if you haven't come to terms with being an empath and you do have a physical empath ability, you do need to be careful that you're not taking on the sickness of another person, or you're not internalizing their pain, or you're not thinking, maybe you're a hypochondriac because you think, oh, I'm constantly getting these weird pains and I don't know why. Well, maybe it's because the people you're around have these ailments and you're picking up on them. So again, understanding and recognizing your empathic skill, accepting it, taking responsibility for it, and trying to uncover it more is just going to ultimately make you feel healthier, happier, and less confused about what's going on with yourself, with your surroundings, with your emotions. So I hope that that helps some of the empaths out there. And if you do have any questions about that, you can always feel free to contact me. My website is www.iclairvoyant.ca, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. There'll be more videos coming, and until then, take care, and thank you for tuning in. Bye.